Inspired by poetry.
Let's give it some lip.
Da-da.
Welcome, everyone. Well, we have a very special treat today. We're doing a Poet in Focus podcast, and we have Josepha with us today from Papua New Guinea. Josepha, it's so lovely to have you here. I'm also joined with TB Harriott, and we're going to be talking about you as a poet, some of your poems, and really we want to know what inspires you as a poet. So welcome.
Thank you. I have not written poems for a while, and I am happy to be confronted with the situation so that I could at least create something, so I know I still have that gift to put words onto paper and they come out as poems. I have a special interest in literature, and usually I write short stories, and fortunately in some time in the past I had about a couple of them published, and so poetry is still somewhere in my heart and soul, and so I am glad Tammy invited me to take the challenge. So I have written 2 poems overnight, and they could be my first after a very long time.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. We're getting you back into poetry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And there's something, I'm one of the creative writing lecturers here at the university, and we always stress to our students how much poetry can help them even in their prose writing as well, to be more concise, to have more imagery, to have a rhythm to their writing. And so hearing that you write short stories, I'm not surprised, because a lot of this kind of builds on each other.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the cultural aspect, I think one of the beauties about poetry is how it allows us to delve into culture, you know, from the point of view of how someone experiences the world around them. And similarly, it's been a while since I've written, you know, but it's nice to be back on ground. And I hope that what you're sharing with us are some insights about getting to know you as a Papua New Guinean and as a woman.
Yes.
Definitely. So it's been a while, but so, and we did kind of just, hey, write some poems. So what were you thinking when you put these 2 together last night? What were some of the thought processes that you had as you were crafting?
I had so many words, come and go across my mind, and I thought maybe I should look at what we are here for. We came to be educated, or at least to have the experience of sharing about leadership. So maybe I should, look at how I have seen Sunshine Coast and its beauty and see the learnings from there, and maybe something will come out. And so A Time to Change actually was written just before I went to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I had to change some words a bit just to suit the flow. And I think the words took some time to come, but eventually I had some words, and they are on this paper. And the cultural fear was the first one I thought about when Tammy invited me to come for the podcast. I thought of this one sentence. I did not know what was behind the door. And that would be, I do not know what this experience would be like, so I said I will build on that one sentence and then create something out of it to be the poetry. So I think it was a good feeling, other than the pressure from the normal lecture room.
Yeah. And I'm going to learn something about you from these, because I understand why both of those subject matters would be important to you, and
Yes.
what you might be feeling. So maybe we can start with A Time to Change, because I want to see the growth in you. I've known you now for like a few months, but I can see the transition, and I'd love to hear how you've expressed it. So if you want to start with that one.
Yes. Okay, here it goes. A Time to Change. Come, we go to Sunshine Coast. See what they got to boast. Beautiful beaches and sun to toast. Wonderful life received from host. Purposeful life it seems to be, yet so different compared to thee. Wonderful highlights I could see, transforming my hindsight to capacity. Mind experiences epiphany as we return to our destiny, thus to restore to infinity, life-giving force to eternity. That is service to PNG.
Oh, I love it.
Love it.
Really love it.
Yeah.
And I love it for more than one reason. I love it because you've taken the challenge that we've given you about what you're going to do with what we've all experienced over the past 3 weeks. And I can see that action is going to be taken. So I really like that.
Yes.
Yeah, and just looking at the structure of it as well, each of the paragraphs builds towards transformation, and even the rhymes that you used in the first stanza versus the third stanza show this kind of growth and maturity in writing. I think it performs as much as the words show the transformation. The poem itself performs that transformation. It's lovely.
Yeah. So if I go from the first stanza, it's about us.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about us.
Yes.
But if I look at the last stanza, it's all about you, right? Which I just love. I love the growth and the journey that I see from stanza to stanza. First, it's about us, and then it transitions to this, what's the possibility? And then this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's like we're watching the speakers processing of what they're experiencing into how that will then impact their lived experience.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Okay. You got it right.
Yes.
So the epiphany. What has been the epiphany? What's been the epiphany?
Oh, the revelation that it's not in the big things only. It's the little things. I think I said it before. Coming to this university and seeing the order in terms of the environment, the flower bed is in order. It has this the chips of the wood on it to help it to sustain moisture so that plants can grow. And then the statement itself, somewhere out there on the notice board, little things. It's got to do with little things, not only big things. And so much we can learn from here in terms of signage, setting direction, even on the roads. You know that you're going to turn left there, and you'll find this place there, etc. So that's what's possible for me. If I have to start something, it does not need a lot of those big money issues to help me to get some things done. That's how I can help my university. Yeah, with the little things I can do. That's the start.
And transforming my hindsight to capacity, right? It's about you building your own capacity to be able to see those little things, right? To see the differences that they can make.
Yes.
So I like the power in that.
And that is that volta. That's where it changes.
That's a change. Yeah, I can see that, and I really love the nexus into the next part, right?
Yes.
Where it's about I get it.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
Yeah, I love it. And the fact that you wrote it last night.
Last night.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great.
And you have another one,
Yes.
which probably, says it all, cultural fear.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this one is, I think it's about this setting of where you have restrictions, where you have this cultural space that if I am going to go to a certain place, there are rules there. So how do I approach that space? It could be what we call the initiation space, where only men are allowed to enter and not women. So if I want to know what is inside, how do I find out about what is there? So probably I should approach slowly, not rush it, but I must also be ready to take off if I'm caught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I read it?
You'll read it for us.
Okay. So it has a similar tempo, but it's cultural fear. I did not know what was behind the door, All I could hear was the snore. Within the walls of the dreaded law, should I or should I not open the door that I could ignore? As my heart beat in my core, sweat sour drips through my pore. Inch by inch through the door, consequences weighed to the fore. All I dare advanced me to the shore. In full flight, I was ready to soar.
Okay.
Lovely. And that consistent rhyme all the way throughout. That was amazing. That is good. I really love the sweat sour. I don't know, for some reason those two together just create a little bit of a cacophony that highlights that moment of that anxiety.
Yes. Adrenaline.
Yeah, the adrenaline. Yeah.
And, you know, as we talk about cultural fear, you know, the symbolism in the snore, you know, it's there, but you don't want to wake it, you know. So I think that's just a great way of looking how we can symbolize these things, you know, how do we experience them. But the snore gives me sort of permission to enter, right?
Yes.
Because it's not yet awake. So I don't have to be frightened yet.
No.
But like you say, in any moment I might have to take off.
Yes.
So that was really lovely.
Yeah. And I always I hear other poets when I'm listening to new poetry. I kind of go, oh, I hear a resonance, because we're always building on the backs of these poets who've come before. And whether we've read the poets or not, it's the language and the culture. The moment where you said, should I or should I not, reminds me of T.S. Eliot's love song of Josepha Prufrock, where he says, and do I dare? Should I dare? Yeah. And I don't know, and the way you read it as well, it just gave me that pause, and I'm like, oh, look at that, because that was he was looking at cultural situations and how he felt as an outsider within this social sphere, and how can he dare to, you know, show himself. And see, and there's a similarity with what you're doing here as well. So it's interesting that language mimics that anxiety and that heartbeat that you were feeling.
Yes, and I would like to also add that one of the great poets or writer who gave inspiration to Papua New Guineans is Kath Walker.
Oh, yeah.
And her poem is one of those that we usually teach to inspire and motivate our students. And that's the one on the no more boomerang, no more spear. So you have to tap the desk, no more boomerang, no more spear. Now all kulaba, kalaba, and beer.
Nice.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So that's one of those. So we try to, you know, speak and have that tempo of you know, action and activity and movement when we want to write poems.
Yes, because poetry is active.
Alive.
Exactly. It's not passive. It is active, and it's a call to action. Yeah. Oh.
Got a bit of rhythm in there too, doesn't it? It's like that tapping as you're going through that. It's in my brain now. I'm like, yes, I understand it. You know, I can feel it. So it moves it from, you know, the visual of what it might look like or what you can hear to this feeling of it's now, you know, part of me. It's now part of me.
Blood is not still, it moves.
Yeah, it does.
So it courses through the veins, so poetry must flow like the blood.
And I think that. So as a poet, like, I think of how it awakens all of the senses. It awakens all of the senses. How do I feel it? You know, and it's, I don't know about you and, you know, in writing this, but like myself as a writer, like it's just, I feel it every moment of it.
It's a journey.
Yeah. And sometimes it sits still and it's snoring, right?
Wake up! So thank you for waking me up.
I'm really glad that we're able to do that. And the importance of language matters because inch by inch, right? That's an expression I have because I grew up with inches, right? And then many people, like in different cultures who are in a metric system, would never use that in an expression. But I always crawl back to the inch, you know, because I get that. I understand what that measurement is. But in other cultural contexts, they may not know. So they can feel it, but they may not know that there's a precision around that. Yeah. So I love that. I always love when we call back on those cultural things that reminds us the perceptions and the perspective of the person who's the writer, who's the author of this.
Inch by inch is deeper than bit by bit.
Yes.
Yeah. It's richer.
Yes.
So it's in the right place in the poem.
It's a cultural measurement, right?
Yes,
it doesn't happen. I don't think in the Australian context people would use inch by inch because it's a foreign language, right? But it's good that, for you, it has a point of reference.
Yeah, it's richer. That's why it has to be used. It doesn't matter if it has to be a foreign language.
Yeah.
Because poetry is an infusion of all our whole system, body and environment and
That's right.
everything.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it is because inch has a determinate length, where bit by bit is more vague, whereas that is showing inch by inch it has purpose.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So at the end of this, I think that everyone's life should be inspired by poetry.
Yes.
And I think of poets, I give them the reverence that I would give to people, historical figures in our lives, because they add so many dimensions to the way we see the world and the way we think and the way we experience it. So who's done that for you besides Kath? Who's really done that for you, for your short stories, anything? Do you have a poet or another writer that...
I think we have a lot of our Papua New Guinean writers who kind of were very active prior to independence.
Okay.
And they had a lot of stories and poems written and read and published. And somehow these days we have to do it because there's a prize.
Yeah.
You have to win a prize. So we are forced to go into our imagination, into our being to create a poem. So I think a combination of all of those people. And I felt I was able to do better in writing because I'm able to put into detail more what I compress in a poem. And so I took that direction. But then I became dormant, I think, inactive. So maybe coming here is a way to revive that literary part of myself.
Yeah.
So I could contribute to that category as well. Yeah.
But it's an interesting point made. I purposefully do not enter competitions. I don't believe in prize for art. So I would never enter a competition because I just think that that's just not what it's about. But how else do you support artists if without those prizes? So this is a dilemma that we have in our society, is that if we want more people to write, what are the incentives that we can give them so that those cultural expressions can be there for more than just a day or in a transaction between, that and the competition?
For me, when I was teaching kind of more in full time, and I had that opportunity to teach writing or poetry, that's where I promote it. Okay. And where those of us who have the same interests come together and we talk about these kinds of things, then we motivate ourselves to remain in that sphere of expression of ourselves. So that's where I contribute. But I think I can do more. And I thank you for this opportunity.
I think we're the fortunate
ones.
Thank you.
And through the poems, I think I've learned more about you.
Okay.
So I think that's really great.
Well, that's what we've always said, that poetry is a window
into the soul.
Into the soul, and that poets are change makers.
Yeah.
They're cultural, social, spiritual change makers.
Yes.
Yes. It's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, it's been a pleasure as always, and it's a better understanding of culture. I think that more people should go out and read more and learn more about poets from all cultures,
Yes.
because it gives us such a good entree
Yes.
Just something about that culture.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing with us, opening our eyes, giving us a wider glimpse into poetry and how that poetic expression can have different iterations.
Yes,
And we just
yes.
really appreciate you sharing with us. And I do hope that this acts as a spark and that poetic energy just starts and keeps flowing through you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So we look forward to the published book.
Yes, right. That's right.
Including these two.
You
That's
must
right.
include
Yes.
them. You must say these are the motivations
These
for
are the
doing all.
seeds
Yeah, we planted. So we planted, and like
Yeah.
you say, it's little things. It's the first one. It's the second one, and then the momentum grows. It has been a pleasure. So thank you very much for coming here
You're
and sharing
welcome,
them
and
with
thank you
us.
too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening. Catch us next time on Lip.
Lip.